Welcome to this very special episode of Between the Cracks. It is the Tao Teaware 1 year anniversary.
That's right, it's Derek from Favorite Teaware and Tao Teaware in the same place.
He stole my start. I guess it's because we're in person. My name is Dardalange and I am your neighborhood pot dealer. Today we're gonna do In the Warehouse and what we're sipping together. So what are we drinking today, Derek?
This is a strange Wu Yan cha that I discovered from a producer. I don't know what's up with it, but he sold it to me very cheap and he only had 1 pound of it. You know what's weird?
What?
It tastes aged. He says it's this year, but I have serious doubts about that.
That's such a weird thing to like, usually it's the opposite, right?
My theory is that he forgot about it and has no idea what this tea is.
That's fair, that's fair. All right, so we're drinking a weird Wu Yan cha that's potentially aged, but we were told it's brand new.
Yeah.
As far as In the Warehouse, well, we're not in Kansas anymore. We're actually, in fact, in Kansas.
Yeah, we're in Kansas anymore. Sorry.
Why are we here?
This is where I live.
Oh.
I finally came back to America for the first time in about 4 years.
That's not where you live.
Well, where I was born and raised.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I live in China, but this is my old house where I was born and raised, and it feels great to be back. Very strange to be back, actually. You know, have you heard about reverse culture shock?
Yeah, you can talk about yours, but for me, it was way harder moving back to the US than it was moving to China, 100%.
Yeah, I'm lucky I had a long layover in Tokyo. And in Tokyo, I got to see a lot of people that weren't Chinese, speaking a lot of languages that weren't Chinese and a lot of food. Anyways.
It's weird.
It is
like,
weird.
it really is. After several years of hearing only Chinese and being not only just like a minority, but a minority to like one major group speaking all the same language, it's super weird. It's super weird. I definitely feel that.
Yeah, because like you said, like, China's a monoculture. Mm-hmm. All the food there is Chinese food. Like, you can get Thai food, but it's Thai Chinese food. What's up?
It's good.
Isn't that so weird?
It is weird.
This is seriously such a cheap tea, but he only had 1 pound of it. So I'm like, there's got to be something going on here.
All right, so we're in Kansas. I don't know anything about Kansas. Literally nothing, absolutely zero. So I requested that we got some Kansas barbecue because that was what my Uber driver recommended last night. And it was really good.
So the funny thing about Kansas barbecue is it's usually barbecued meat, right? And so that's what's really the iconic Kansas thing.
All right.
And so when you said that you got Kansas barbecue, what'd you get?
I got a barbecued portobello mushroom sandwich.
That's right. That is not traditional Kansas. But,
okay, but it was the same sauce they used in the beef, which was weird to me. Like, I'm used to, like, I feel like pulled pork or like pork in barbecue. So for me, like, the beef thing kind of threw me off too. But
I mean, pork will be more fatty, beef will be a little more lean. Of course, we're the home of the cowboys, the beef raisers. I mean, you saw a couple cows in my backyard, right?
I was not expecting that. And you played it off like that's normal, like every Kansas backyard. Yeah, you know, you got dogs in your backyard. We got cows.
I was like, oh, looks like the cows are coming in.
You know what else is funny? 3 of your family members thought I was you today, including your father.
My dad did too.
Yeah, he saw you yesterday. He
saw me without the beard and without the long hair.
Yeah, and he's like, oh wow, Derek, you grew out your hair. Oh, that's not Derek. I'm like, how in the world?
To be fair, you came in at what time? 2 a.m.?
Yeah, by the time we got here.
I told my dad you'd come here today during the day, and so like he wakes up, I'm not there, you're there. Anyways.
So our main theme for today is our behind the scenes from our first year of Tao Teaware. There's a ton of blunders, a ton of fun, and a ton of cool stuff coming in the future too.
That's right, and a lot of good stuff that we did do this year.
Yeah,
It's not all bad.
You know what we didn't do well from the beginning?
What?
Our pricing.
Oh my god.
Our stuff was so overpriced the first like maybe 2 or 3 months. That terrible bamboo set and the totem set. I think we were charging like, I don't know, $60, $70. It's like $35 now. Like we're like, yeah, this is not a $60 set.
To be fair, our problem is we're incorporating a lot of our work into it, our time, our labor, the energy we put into it, and we're like, you know what, this adds to the value, but not of this set.
No.
That was not quite worth it.
I want people to feel like they're getting more than their value. I want someone when they buy a $30 piece of teaware to be like, this is worth more than that. When they buy a $50, $100, $200 piece, I want you to feel like you're getting more than that. And that set was kind of the first thing where like, I don't feel like I'm getting more.
Worth it, yeah. It's like when we're counting up all of our labor, all of our man hours, and like, the labor points of like the YouTube videos, the podcast, the editing, the sourcing, the shipping, the meetings that we do, it adds up, but we're gonna have to figure out a different way to add value to the products, right?
For sure. Speaking of sourcing, you talk about it in the T-Suit podcast. Not every sourcing experience goes the way that we want it to. So let's talk about some of those fun sourcing failures from this year.
That's funny, actually. So I have a little anecdote from tea sourcing.
Okay.
Some of my cousins, when they saw me, they're like, oh, what's it like getting into the mountains and talking to tea farmers? And I have to tell them how business is done in China. And what's the main phrase about business in China? A Chinese phrase. Chinese word.
Guanxi?
Guanxi.
Yeah.
And so Guanxi is just relationship, and this is how you build contacts. And so you'll do business with people in China, and they'll treat you to dinner, they'll take you out, they'll let you sleep in their homes, they'll cook you food, they'll get you drunk, they'll do all of this stuff before you talk about business. Then at the very end, at the very, very last like hour before your train leaves, they're like, so how about that business? And you're just like, okay, everything tasted great, let me see the products. And then it's like, sometimes the products aren't good, but you spent so much time, so much energy, you kind of have that pity buy sometimes.
Or even like sometimes like our cool glaze guy from Jingdejian.
Yep. Leo.
Yeah, Leo. We've had some really cool stuff from him. Other stuff we've got commissioned, we're like, this doesn't look like the thing that we actually had. That was your product, like that you've made previously. And he's working with different glazes and the kilns are different every time. So we get that, but it's a give and take, right? There are times where like you're getting the better deal and there are other times where it's like, okay, we're gonna put this through the ropes and we gotta do it. And that's just part of business in China and getting used to that.
And a lot of these connections, they're like future investments where it's like, glaze guy could come around. The glaze guy.
Glaze guy.
That was one of our minor blunders just because it's like, it turned out cool, but it was totally not what we wanted. And so we had to recalibrate like how we're envisioning that set. I've been using that set personally at home. I don't think we've released it yet. But the quality of the pieces are great. The color is just not what we expected.
You're right. Yeah, I had another piece that was a specific color. And I guess that's kind of true. We really haven't, it hasn't been individual failures. It's been more like we didn't get the right products.
Yeah, it's like expectations.
Which
one are you going to bring up?
What percentage of our teapots have we sold out of?
Oh, good question. 40%.
Nah, it's like 80.
80?
Yeah. We have, I think we only have like one or two teapots of it. Like they pretty much have sold out like one after another after another. How many gaiwans do you think we've sold out of?
Thought you were going to ask about gaiwans. Why? I don't know why. That's all I use. Like you like all the pots.
Yeah.
Beautiful pots and stuff like that. But for me, I'm a gaiwan guy. And so when I'm like sourcing, I'm looking for really cool gaiwans that are typical of this style, typical of that style.
Yeah.
And they just don't move. And we tried to address it with the pricing.
Yeah.
We adjusted everything. Pots started selling like crazy. Gaiwans didn't move.
We didn't move the pricing on the pots either.
Oh, really?
No. Like all the pots that have sold have been like over $100, and the gaiwans that aren't moving are like $20 to $40 gaiwans.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Maybe it's because they look weird. Maybe I don't know. Like I don't know from our demographic yet. I don't know like how many people already had previous teapots. Maybe it's like a comfort thing with recognizing what a teapot is versus a gaiwan, because I think there's a ton of practical uses for using gaiwans, but for whatever reason, we just move all the expensive pots.
That's something we can adjust to, that we can learn from. And just start giving the people what they want, more nice pots, which is exciting for us too. Now, I think this video setup here is fantastic, but it wasn't always the case, was it?
Whatever do you mean, Derek?
Well, I just remember you doing some reels. It was like half outdoor wood cabin feel with screen doors, and you're in your dress suit with your hair slicked back. And those were kind of weird vibe reels.
Hey, my hair's up today. It's pulled back.
Similar, but the vibe is much more comfortable now. Like,
Yeah.
What happened there, man?
Yeah, so I think anytime someone sits down in front of a camera for the first time, there's an expectation that you want to be taken seriously. And that's a lot of at least what I was wearing. As we've made more content, as I've made more content and made reels almost every day this whole year, I've realized it's not about what I'm wearing, it's about the comfort of the information that we're sharing and the quality and the value that we're able to provide. It doesn't really matter what I'm wearing, but we do want to have a high production value. And I think that's one thing we've definitely seen change. Like, I want it to be crispy.
Crispy.
Tingles.
Tingly.
But that doesn't mean that I need to be in a suit and uptight about it.
Yeah, that does not give me the tingles. If you're curious about this tingle joke, it happened in the last episode, I think.
It was like 2 or 3 episodes ago at this point.
Episodes ago, man. Our production quality with the mics, the condenser mics, just got so nice.
Yeah.
So juicy and crisp, and ooh, it just gave me the tingles. I was like, I don't even know if we need to do Teaware. Let's just do ASMR.
Those first YouTube videos, I was shooting on my phone. I had a condenser mic like off in the corner of the frame, which you could see.
How do you use a condenser mic?
You put it right next to your mouth, as close as you can get it.
It's basically eating it.
Yeah, basically eating it, which is how you get the tingles. Which isn't gonna happen because we're wearing lavalier mics today, but that tingly sensation comes from a condenser mic basically touching my beard.
Which is why, like, I do the T-Suit podcast, but I don't do visual because I'm literally on the mic the entire time.
Yeah.
So you can't see my face if I did a video.
Speaking of YouTube videos with microphones over here and terrible clothing, I thought what I was making last year was good.
We all start somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's real bad. Go back and look. Go back and look at a reel that I made in January versus some of the bangers that we popped out this week.
This week, yeah.
It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough.
You know, every time you make a video, every time you do something, it's kind of like your baby. Of course, you're a little self-conscious about it. You critique yourself a lot.
For sure.
But it's still a baby to you. And you see these old things, you're like, that's no child of mine.
Even though our stuff is getting better, we got some new lenses, we have some new things on the way, like there's some new cool material and ways that we're able to capture imagery and videos that I think is really gonna kind of take it to the next level. I think B-roll is really gonna be that place, but we'll talk about that for the future.
Yeah, the reels going viral?
No, I mean, that's cool too. I went to go switch memory cards in my ZV-E10. I put my SD card in, and it was completely corrupted.
Ooh.
But honestly, I don't care. Because as we just said, the stuff I was making at the beginning of the year was garbage, so I'm never gonna reuse it, so it's fine.
You get to that point where it's like you're making such good quality, like it just negates everything in the past. I've done that too, where I look back at the stuff I was doing a year ago and I'm like, why would I even think about doing this? Like, that's not a good idea.
Takes time for sure. Even though it took a while to get the pricing together and the content wasn't the greatest in the beginning, we had goals at the beginning of the year, right? We had goals mainly for followers, not as much sales this year. We really wanted to kind of get our feet under us.
Yeah, I mean, followers is a good metric, right?
Yeah.
It's very visual, you can see the trajectory. How many did we want? How many did we start with?
At the beginning of the year, we had 600 followers on Instagram. Today, we're at like 60 shy of 3,000.
Jeez, that's insane. I feel like it's getting harder and harder to like work the Instagram algorithm. And a lot of people like, yeah, you have to just play the game. Like create the reels, they're pushing everyone to that. I had a lot of trouble with like my account in China because it's like, I couldn't get the Reel app to work. Like I wouldn't let me do Reels. It's a whole different beast if you're really going after the algorithm and going viral. What's the definition for viral?
I like there's a phrase used for YouTube, they call it VFM, or viral for me. And so basically it's having 3 times more than your followers in views on a given piece.
Okay.
That's more for long form though. Like for short form, it
could get huge.
Yeah, I would say like honestly maybe 10 times that. So if you're doing like 30 times, 20 or 30 times your followers, I think that's more like viral for short form.
Do you think we've been hitting that viral mark?
No, but I don't think viral is the most important thing. I think the views to followers or views to engagement is much more important. This week we've had 2 reels that have done over 10,000, but we also got more than 100 followers off of one of them.
That's important. That's huge.
That's more followers than our biggest reel ever that did 70,000, which by the way, I really hate that video, but it did really well.
Which video was that? Go on, you can tell us.
The highest quality and lowest quality clay pots are the most similar. that video.
I love that.
It's true, but the whole composition of that video is terrible.
You live and you learn.
Another thing that at the start of the year really helped to kind of change the pace was you mentioned how we were pricing our things based on the amount of time and what value and how much it was costing us. And that really didn't work. And it was the same thing with the investment in our gear.
Oh, yeah.
We're not using my nicest lights today. This is kind of a hodgepodge setup of some of the cheaper gear that I bought at the beginning of the year. And there's been this back and forth of me getting better at putting together a composition. Like, I could not have made this setup 6 months ago.
In a random basement.
Yeah, in a random basement with random things that I found around. Like I brought this granite piece, but everything else.
What is this piece of wood?
I have no idea.
Neither do I.
It's like a bookcase shelf thing that opens.
It has an ancient key.
Yeah.
Like it has like this really like nice looking ancient key. Anyways, it's just random stuff. You have it set on dumbbells, right?
Yeah, had some weights because this was too low, and so it would have cut off our head. So there's so many things with like learning the composition, but then also buying gear and pots.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing. Like at the beginning of the year, I was like, I'm not gonna buy pots. I'm only gonna trade pots. And like we've traded a good number of pots, and I feel very fortunate. We'll talk about some of our American potters that we've become really close with over the last year. Just like your favorite tech YouTuber or your favorite car YouTuber, they buy and use the highest quality, best, and most expensive versions. You have to in order to be able to give accurate reviews.
Right.
And it's the same thing with the pottery. To some extent, making sure we have good enough studio equipment to represent and be able to show those things as well.
I think that's one of my favorite things of this year is getting to interact with so many excellent teapots out there. We have a really novel idea, like coming into this, we're not competing with anyone. We're just trying to learn, we're trying to share ideas, we're trying to study the art of like Chinese teaware and also how that manifests in the West.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at American potters, Western potters, how they're creating these tiny teapots.
Small pots, baby.
Yeah. We're looking at other vendors who are sourcing these pots and like, okay, like how is like their version of the highest quality jian shui compared to what we perceive it as? Mm-hmm. And so this kind of like intel research gathering and everything, that's essential to doing anything. That's the first step. You breathe in and then you breathe out.
When you have those moments where you feel like there's a level up,
yeah.
Like when you feel like you're just, whatever it is in that moment, you are a rung higher, you're a step closer. And there was a moment this year with one of the American potters that we're friends with that we gotten really close to. You guys will know his name if you watch any of our content. Sanguine Teapots, Mark Moeller. I did not deserve the first pot that he sent me. He was the first person to do a trade with me. And the Yixing Dragon Egg that I gave him was nice, but he gave me literally the best pot. It was a studio pot that was not for sale because it was his favorite piece. And he gave it to me when I had no following, no information, the quality of the products that we were, like, everything was not deserving of what he gave us. And it just inspired me. But the level up moment happened when we got the validation from him. When the bonbons came in and he saw them on our website and said, you guys are gonna make it. If you can get these pots, you guys are gonna make it.
He was like, all of a sudden he's like, oh, this is what they're doing. This is kind of the quality they're bringing to the West that is difficult to find. I lived in Chaozhou for that year in 2021. I essentially lived in the studio. I was there every day, 6 hours for like 6 to 8 months. Mm-hmm. Getting those connections, getting that teaware and bringing it out. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it. I thought like maybe I would sell it through One River Tea, but turns out my partners don't really want to sell teaware so bad. Mm-hmm. So, but again, that's where this is a perfect opportunity to take those connections and get them into, you know, the Western hands. So when you get an expert potter, somebody who's been making pots for a really long time that are just beautiful, and they see the teapots you're sourcing and you're bringing to the table, and they say, this is great. That's the love. That's the level up.
It was second level of luck. Luck by motion. We happen to get one of the best pots from a potter who has arthritis and puts all of his focus on the functionality of a teapot. Like there's plenty of potters who are doing American craft pots that the aesthetic is the main thing. And he cares more about function than anything else. And it was just the perfect internal reflection from another professional in the industry. But that's only half of it. I hated social media for most of my life. I never had a following. I never engaged with other people. I never put in the energy to be social on a media platform. I just wanted the results of these people who are putting in so much time. One of the things about it being social is you're building a community, and the community gives you feedback. That's what matters when we're creating content. And these videos that have had really high follower to view ratio tells me that we leveled up, that we're at a new threshold where we're providing enough value to people that they're willing to stay along for the ride.
Also, the level of communication in these reels, that follower to like ratio, the amount of comments, conversations, responses.
Yeah.
I love seeing some of the TikToks, I think it was, where you see the conversation as the reel is going, and you just see it bop, 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 bop. And the fact that you're taking the time and responding to all of these people and they're creating this dialogue, I think that's what we're really trying to do. Not be clickbait, but create something, create the conversation, create the idea, the spark, to get people's minds working again, like about Teaware.
And that's actually part of the reason that I hate that reel that did 70,000. I didn't answer the question. And that's why I don't like that video so much. I want to be adding value. And I 100% do believe that the lowest quality, maybe mid quality, mold-made teapots and some of the highest quality handmade teapots have similarities that sometimes make it hard to tell. But I didn't answer why. And so I didn't give the value. I put out the hook, but I didn't actually tell people. And I didn't help them learn more.
I mean, this level of self-critique is why we're going to grow, why we're going to change, why we're going to always do better year after year. When we can see what we didn't do so well and know what we want to improve on.
The apple pie.
Nailed it.
Was our most expensive pot that we'd ever released. It was a pot that you've been curating for almost a year.
Right, yeah. These connections.
Not only did it sell out within 5 days, every single person that bought one reviewed it, gave it a 5-star. I think we got 1 4-star because of, I don't remember what it was, but I mean, it was 4 and 5 stars across the board. Everyone reviewed it, everyone loved it, which was followed up by the event that was a grand slam for our first year.
Which event was that? Northwest Tea Fest?
Yeah. This whole year we've done 4 major orders in Teaware. And because we ship by boat, it takes about 3 months for us to get new pieces in. By our 3rd and 4th order, we knew what we were doing. We had a better indication. We were filling in the gaps in the products. And when we went to Portland Tea Fest 2 months ago, we didn't have the pots we wanted to bring. And so we didn't do as well as I thought we could have done. But Northwest, we had the pots we wanted with the people who wanted them for the price point that made sense. And we sold out of everything.
Nuts.
Everything except 1 pot. We had 6 different types of pots that were over $100. We had $150 Yuechao Gaiwans. And the pricing for us, it's hard to price something that is worth it, but is $100, like coming from not having anything that was that before.
Yeah. We're finding the niche. We're finding what people want out of us. Finding what we can source that adds value to the tea community. Like right now, we're drinking out of the Yuechao cups. And even within these 2 cups, which I bought, I think this is 2019, 2020. And his style just changes at his whim. Like this one here, it's, as you can see, they're the same color of like this, like nice, I call it the caramel and cream. Right, this like yellow, gold, and white. But this one here is a lot more rough. It has more of the whole wen, like the fire marks. So he was using a lot more flame in the kiln. Here, even though this is still wood-fired, it's crystal clean. It almost looks soda-fired. I remember asking him when I received it, I was like, do you guys soda-fire it? And he's like, no, this is still wood-fired, completely wood-fired. But again, these cups don't come cheap.
So we've made the connections, we've invested in the gear, we're seeing the results in the content we're making that's providing value to people, but it's only been a year.
Has it? It's October? I guess it's the year mark, yeah.
Yeah, 2 days ago, I think.
2 days ago is the year mark. That's great, yeah. I remember last year when we decided we're beginning now.
Yep.
And it was right after the Golden Week.
Yeah.
And so this is October 1st, the first week of October, Chinese independence. This is when everything in China shuts down. And this is really difficult to ship stuff. And so we usually are trying to get our order out as fast as we can before everything closed down for shipping. Good kind of mark to launch our American side Teaware company, right? So yeah, it's been 1 year. Amazing. How many follower games? 2,000?
Yeah, like 2,500. That's not even what's exciting. Yeah. What's exciting is the trip next month to Jingdezhen and Yixing.
So I'm in America right now, and so are you.
Yeah.
And so you're telling me we're both going to China next month?
If all the cards play out.
If all the cards play out. Next month or this month?
This month. It's October. Yeah, this month.
Just a couple more weeks. So I'm
Yeah.
going back to China like next week, and then in a few weeks, hopefully you'll be there.
Yeah, as soon as I get my visa.
Yep, and we can go to Jingdezhen, we can go to Chaozhou, we can go to Yixing. So if there's any place you guys want us to go, just leave a comment, because I'm there all year, and Dart's there every year.
This trip in China isn't just about developing our connections and being with the potters, but also about the amount of content and visual information we can add to tell that narrative, tell the story, to help make it a little bit more understandable.
Right, and that's something I'm very good at with photography. I'm very good at storytelling with the podcast. My video game is just not up to your level, man.
I mean, I think I just buy more video stuff than you do.
Well, that's one way to do it, but to buy something you have to research it first. You have to know how to use it.
Yeah.
Like I could have all of this lighting in a basement like this, and I would have no idea how to make it shine,
Sure.
how to make it look like a studio I want.
Yeah.
So too, like I'm in beautiful mountain scenery all the freaking time, man. I'm in tea houses, I'm in the streets
Oh,
of China.
yeah.
All I need to do is just figure out how to record that and show it to people. Right?
B-roll.
B-roll, rolled. What's B-roll?
So this is A-roll, right? We're talking, you can see what we're talking about, right? That's A-roll. B-roll is when we have something that's overlaid over the top that explains what we're talking about. So if we mention Chaozhou, having a video of something in Chaozhou. If we're talking about Master Kunmin, having, maybe a picture or a video of him throwing or talking or something like that. So if there's one thing I'm going to focus on next year, it's B-roll.
Nice. And I love that idea because there's so much stuff that we talk about. And as you were saying that, I saw Master Kunmin throwing. I saw Chaozhou, and I'm like, I know exactly the shots I want. The problem is, how do I get those shots? But we'll have a lot of time next couple weeks to get these shots.
I'm going to buy a lens that costs more than every other piece of camera equipment that I own.
Really? More than this camera that's
Yeah.
shooting this? Just the lens.
It's a 90mm macro lens that also is super good for portraits. We're going to be able to get that extra crispy, drippy,
Tingly.
shots for the B-roll and close-ups so we can give a little bit more character and really show the character, the close-ups of that pottery. Get close-ups when we're in studios, shooting, throwing, the works.
Nice, man. That lens sounds like a beast.
It's gonna be a beast, just like next year.
I was trying to get the ollie up from Monster. G-Monster.
G-Master.
Oh, it's a master.
It's a master, it's not a monster.
Damn, it was a monster. G-Monster.
All right, we're getting a G-Master lens. Bye-bye.